and we're going to get back to this. We're going to get back to this manifesto because we haven't hit the most devastating parts of it yet.
Yeah.
Utterly devastating to the black community and the community at large. Utterly devastating. And we're going to get back. We're going to get back to that, and so we can make this agenda more clear.
Yeah.
Now, there's folks out there that don't mind being victims because it allows them to be lazy. They don't really have to do anything. They can just sit back and but there are people who are actually who are like, why are we where we are?
Absolutely. I mean, I was one of those people.
Yeah.
I was one of those people. Like I literally, when I was incarcerated, I started doing a lot of studying. Right. I was always a reader, but I was always attracted to entrepreneurship. That's always been my biggest thing. Right, and I sat down with one guy, a white guy, named Doug Davis, who pulled me aside and just basically explained to me, like, bro, you got so much potential. He was like, man, you're very. He just was talking to me, just opening my mind up to stuff, right? Taught me about economics, gave me a book about economics, and just having that conversation with him, the books that he gave me opened my mind up to just a whole nother world. It was like a light switch, just like that. I can do any of this stuff, is what I realized. Like, what is, I remember having a conversation when he was like, well, what do you plan on doing when you go home? And I was like, man, I'm gonna try to get me a job, but what do I go to first? Man, I got felonies, I don't know what's gonna, what I mean? So he was like, bro, I just finished hearing all these war stories, all this stuff you were involved in. And you trying to tell me you scared to go home and hear somebody tell you no?
Yeah.
Again, light switch. I was like, oh man, you're right.
That? Yeah.
Right, you're right. Why am I afraid to go hear somebody tell me no?
Yeah.
So with that mentality, I took that to the max. Right? If I go into an establishment or I go apply for a job, or I go apply for something, if you don't hire me, I don't get mad, pissed off, nah, cool. Next opportunity.
Yeah.
Whoever does hire me, you got a very good worker.
Yeah.
You got a very hard worker, right? But I'm not just a worker. I'm paying attention to what industry I'm in. I think a lot of people in our communities get caught up with just being workers, having a good job.
Yeah.
And not understanding that they're in an industry that they can learn and can probably grow no matter what it is. They're so worried about, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It's the focus is on, I don't know, showing up.
But it's fast money too.
Yeah.
Trying to get it fast. Even with mediocre jobs, people still try to get it fast. It's like, bro, you're not even really doing nothing, but you're still trying to get it fast. You're working your butt off for that $2 raise. When if you pay attention to what's going on to you and you give it some time, that $2 can maybe $17.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is just getting out of that frame of mind of just like settling in that victim of this is all I can do or this is all I have, and then blaming everybody around you for it. Where it's like, it's not like that.
No.
It's not like that.
No, that's the surest way to not be successful.
Yeah.
Is to, this is it. This is all. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, I know a lot of people who call themselves a child of God, but are limited in their thoughts.
That's because they're limited in their belief.
Say it again. Say it again.
Yeah,
so that's yes. Limited in their beliefs, but we want to let's veer back.
Okay.
Let's veer back to the manifesto because this is when it gets deeper and much uglier. So we're going to skip to the part to where in the statement it goes like this: we build a space that affirms Black women and is free from sexism, misogyny, and environments in which men are centered. Now, we just touched on a lot of that and what happens in the community. But so when I say it gets uglier, this is what I mean. I mean, they are not even trying to hide. I mean, when this was posted on the internet, they weren't trying to hide. They're trying to hide it now. They're trying to act like it never existed. But but everybody has the receipts. Now, this was definitely the HTML language matched the key to that particular website on that particular page. You go to the page now, and it says it does not exist.
Yeah.
But it still has the Black Lives Matter black background and some of the other graphics on there, because this was pulled off. But they're not even. This is fairly blatant, and this is why I had to come down. We're gonna affirm black women. So, Rich, when was the last time a black man or the black man was the head of the house in the black community as a whole? You have any idea?
Nah, I don't.
Just after slavery.
I can see that. I can see that during. You know what? I talked to a lot of guys from the Carolinas.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of African American guys, older guys that came from around that era or grew out of it.
That's where my people at.
Right?
Yeah.
And they are some of the last people that I spoke to that always talk about strong family.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they're big in the church.
Yeah.
Right? And most of them came from the Carolinas.
Yes.
I don't know, why is that? You from here? What's up?
Well, not to venture too far off
now, after
on this
slavery, were there a lot of people?
So absolutely. One of the largest landing points for African Americans in this nation was South Carolina, North Carolina. Okay. In fact, when you go to Ancestry.com, you'll see that the roots of a lot of black families that dispersed across the United States, and primarily in places that are in a lot of trouble right now, unfortunately, your Detroits, your Philadelphias, your Chicagos, your New Yorks, came from the South Carolina area. Now, those folks who stayed in the South Carolina, North Carolina area kept and maintained strong family ties. But here's the thing. Just after slavery, when you could no longer be sold up and down the river, black families stayed together right through the Great Depression, right through the 40s and 50s, World War II returning. You got into the 50s, you had the Korean War, still good. And then we got to 68, Lyndon Johnson, the Great Society, all this other, because we had to break up the black family. We had to break up that home.
Absolutely.
And it worked flawlessly, because by the time you got... Did you know that up until 1970, black women were more likely to be married than white women?
Oh, absolutely.
Up until 1970, and then it fell off.
So what I wanted to talk about was that during that time as well, right? If you really think about it, that's also the period where, like, the Black Panthers were getting taken out, right? Anything that was a powerful black image was basically getting taken out during that whole period.
Yeah.
Right? Talking about this is the Malcolm, not the Malcolm X, this is the Martin Luther King period.
Right.
This is the Malcolm X period, right?
Systematically,
This is the millions of black men who we probably never even heard of.
Right.
That are gone, right, during this era. So now you have the black women that need to step up, that need to be stronger, that need to be able to do this without a man.
Right, because the men were taken out left and right.
Right, the powerful men.
Mm-hmm.
So who does that leave to preach?
The weak.
The pimps.
Yeah.
the drug dealers.
The victimizers.
The victimizers. You don't know the victimizers, right? So you take out all the powerful men, you leave the weak men.
Yeah.
Then they're the ones supposed to lead.
Yes.
Think about the rap industry. These rappers aren't getting older, getting younger.
Right.
And there's grown men out there who are learning and listening to these kids.
Correct.
So that the teachers in our communities are getting younger and younger, and the smarter guys are just disappearing.
But let me interject here, because this came up in another conversation that I was having, where even in the white community, it's the children that are leading the families.
Absolutely.
These kids. These kids are running the house. They're setting the budget with their aunties, because I will have this, and this, and if I don't get it, they'll be held to pay.
But again, I think that's class.
Well, so okay, you have in one community the ones who are being followed are getting younger and younger through the rap.
Yeah,
they're getting younger and younger. In another community, the family is being.
If you think about the white family, right?
Mm-hmm.
The average white family don't have kids until later in life.
Okay.
So the parents are much older.
When you say much older,
it's like.
Are you talking about 30s?
You got to think about our community, right? It's women out there that's 36, 37 years old, right? I'm 38 years old with a kid that's going to be 21, right? The typical parent, the average parent in the white community is usually in their 30s when they're having a kid.
Okay.
Right? So most of the time when they're parenting, when their kid is 16, 17 years old, they're usually in their late 50s, 60s sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you correct me if I'm wrong there, but I feel like that has a big role in the kid running the household in that community.
So let me back up. When I say kid, I mean like a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from 6 to 15. So these are parents who are in their 30s.
Yeah. Okay.
These are parents who are in there, and so the kids run it a different way, but it's still the kids running it. It's adults not being adults, because you can't be too strict. You gotta let kids figure it out for themselves, and that's that community. And then you go back to our community, to what you were saying about, hey, the rappers are getting younger and younger, and they're actually leading, if you quote unquote, leading others to do things that they should not be doing, and they're older than these rappers. And so I guess my point is this: it doesn't really matter what community you're in.
Yeah,
we're beginning to hand the reins over to children.
Absolutely. And again, in the urban communities, there's a lot of young parents, right? They're growing up feeling like they have to be friends with their kids more than they have to be parents to their kids. Right? And a lot of their parents, who again came from that era, that crack cocaine era, drug era, a lot of those parents were incapable of even really being parents.
Yeah.
Right? So who's out there raising these kids now?
The streets. Yeah.
The guy with that microphone.
Yeah.
Then these kids are coming home unruly, acting some type of way.
Yeah, coming home to who though? Unruly.
Exactly. Coming home to who though?
Right. So, and all that does tie back to when you have an active adult man, a father figure in the home.
Yeah.
When you walk through that door, all things being equal, when you walk through that door, you come in with respect.
Absolutely.
And that's just not where we are because of many things. But this is where BLM comes in and takes advantage.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of history of a systematic oppression in the Black community when it comes to family, especially. And I think that, Black Lives Matter, hearing more, I feel like they're further pushing that agenda. And I think that with the defund the police in place, you just gotta think about these things, man. I don't think people like really sit down and just like logically think about
Oh,
it.
they're thinking about it now. Oh no. They're thinking about it now, because now we got all these places that defunded the police now, adding all kinds of.
Absolutely.
In Seattle, they're throwing everything but the kitchen sink to get officers hired.
So I'm sitting there in my old neighborhood that I grew up in, right back home. I'm riding around and I'm looking, and all I see is shot cameras on the poles. There's no police officers anywhere. It's just shot cameras on the pole. You know, somebody fires a shot, they get the response.
Right, yeah, it has the microphone, and it alerts.
So that is the police in that community.
Yeah.
But we got some of the highest murder rates right now we've ever had.
And that's reactive as opposed to proactive. See, when you defund the police, all you're going to get is a reaction.
Yeah.
You get no pro-action. There's no, hey, you know what? Maybe we can head off this tragedy just by being present.
Absolutely.
Those cameras and those microphones don't do nothing but, oh, we need to go and see who died.
Exactly. Shots fired, we'll go pick it up when it's done.
Right.
Right? That's basically what's happening.
Right.
And people don't see that far.
That's part of the agenda. It's part of the agenda. We gotta eliminate as much as possible.
So it's I think that people just need to get off the notion that it's just all of these officers that's in these that's just out there to get them. You know what I mean? Especially when we're putting ourselves in positions for them to come get us. Right?
2019, Rich. It was 23 deaths. 23 black people got shot and killed by a police officer.
In 2019.
2019. 23.
Now
23. 2,906.
I can name, what's this? This is July. I can name about 6 people that got murdered this year that I know personally that got killed by another black person.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say got killed by police? No, because we
and it goes back to what you said. I don't want to cut. You go back to what you said earlier. Taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people just don't want to take responsibility.
Yeah.
They rather just blame.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what I said, man. I know for a fact when I was out there in the streets, if an officer stopped me and pulled me over, he had every right to. I don't care. I knew I was doing wrong. I knew where I was coming from. I knew where I was going. I knew what I probably had on me. I know I was doing wrong. So if that officer seen me, that's pulled me over 13 times in the past. You know what I mean? He knows who I am. He knows I'm out here doing wrong. So how am I going to get mad at that officer for trying to stop me and save my community?
Well, he violating your rights.
And this is where it comes. This is where the responsibility comes into play.
Yeah.
When I stopped, the reason why I stopped, what made me make the big decision to stop selling drugs, especially that rule right there, right? What made me say to myself, I would never sell crack cocaine again in my life, was I was in prison, walking the yard with a Muslim guy. He's talking to me. One of my best friends came into the prison, and I'm telling this guy, like, yeah, man, that's my best friend, you know, boom, boom, boom. I'm telling him all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, we used to sell drugs out of his mother's house, and I'm telling him all this stuff. And he said, yeah, he lets me finish, but then he looks at me, he says, man, that's your best friend? I was like, yeah. He said, that's like your brother, right? I was like, yeah. He was like, your mother do drugs? Your mother and father? I was like, nah, my mother and father don't do no drugs. But you sell drugs to his mother and father. I was like,
man.
He said, and this is somebody you care about. I was like, man. I sat there for a minute, and this is my friend, you know what I mean? I ain't gonna say his name, but you know, he know who, he's gonna hear this. And I went back upstairs and I apologized to him. And he was like, bro, for what you talking about, bro? And I was like, nah, bro, you know, when we were doing this, that, and the third, like, you know, I was wrong for that. Even though I was your mother, like, that's your mother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you want to continue, or your brothers, or however y'all do it, but I'm not ever again. Because that's somebody that I can say that I love. And that woman is sober up to this day now. She got like, I believe, 3 or 4 years clean now. You know what I mean? But, you know, growing up, I didn't see how I was hurting my own community.
Yeah.
I was selling drugs to people's aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters. I was out there robbing. I was out there doing these things in my own community.
Man. Oh, yeah. Yeah, man.
So the first thing I had to do was take responsibility for my part and what I was doing out there.
Man, David Dorn. Look, Black Lives Matter set this country on fire over the death of a drug dealer.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not flippant about anybody's death. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, you know, there's some folks out there, oh, he deserved what he got, this, that, and that. I'm not that guy. I'm not gonna do that. But let me tell you what type of guy I'm also not. I'm not gonna pay homage to a drug dealer. I'm not gonna do it. Derek Chauvin applying incorrect techniques, he belongs in prison. Okay, because if anybody else had done that, same would have happened. I mean, outside of law enforcement, and Derek Chauvin has some other stuff going on too, with George Floyd. That's another show for another day. But suffice it to say, when David Dorn was murdered during a Black Lives Matter riot, and there aren't that many people who even know his name. This man was 77 years old. He was a retired police captain. He had been the chief of police of another smaller community after he retired, and then took a job to help protect his community, because he was not going to be that dude to just go home and sit down on his butt. 77 years old, murdered in cold blood by some thugs who took advantage of a Black Lives Matter riot after they were encouraged to go out and protest. And his face should be the face plastered on the sides of buildings.
Never even seen it.
Man, his face should be plastered because he was a man. He was married. He had children. He was a church-going, God-fearing man, member of his community, who went and responded to a friend's business. I'm supposed to bow down to George Floyd.
Yeah.
It's not happening. Call me whatever you want. Poisonous, murderous thug compared to a man who was out to protect his community and was gunned down by some punks.
Goes back to being responsible. This man went outside and was being responsible, being a responsible man, adult, American citizen, whatever you want to name it. Like it's, yeah.
But that's what we're left with. That's what we're supposed to. Back to the manifesto.
I mean, and again, and it happens in our community a lot, right? It's a lot of kids who, there's a lot of college kids who are unheard of that walk into school and get murdered, right? For no reason. Yeah. Just because they're on the wrong street, or they got the wrong hat on, or the wrong color, or in the wrong neighborhood, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. Now this kid's life is cut down, and he wasn't even doing nothing. No. But we don't talk about none of that in our community, and it happens. You know what I mean? A lot of these kids.
All day, every day, man. But manifesto. Yeah. We make our spaces family friendly and enable parents to fully participate with their children. We dismantle the patriarchal practice that requires mothers to work double shifts so that they can mother in private even as they participate in public justice work. When you advocate for the removal of fathers from the home, and then you complain about mothers having to work double shifts.
I mean, they lost me with the fathers out the home, or even just trying to stand on your one leg. Like, I mean, they lost me there, period.
Yeah. We disrupt the Western-style prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families in villages, blah, 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 blah. Listen, a Western prescribed nuclear family, this is just Judeo-Christian family structure.
Yeah.
They call it Western. Now, this is what Marxists do. We have to remove God. We have to remove anything that even relates to God, including the family structure, mother, father, children, and then expanding from there. We have to remove any hint of God. You remove God, you remove men from the family, and then boom, you're done.
You know what's funny about that? When I talked earlier about a lot of people being from the South, being from South Carolina, North Carolina, those areas, right? I always noticed that they always came from large families, right? They always came from families that had both parents, and they were always God-fearing. They always had stories about their grandparents or great-grandparents being pastors, being a part of churches. Right? There's always memories of Sunday schools.
Oh, yeah.
There's always those memories,
yeah.
Right? But it's always talked about in the past tense. It's always, this is what my family used to do. So the further and further we get away from that, look at where we are now. Do you know what one of the easiest actions it is? One of the easiest actions out there to mimic a black woman is to twerk. That's like one of the, this is a standard action.
Yeah, it's a badge of honor. Right. Except it's not a badge of honor. It's a badge of distinction. But not every distinction is a good one. And that is the visual representation of what people would like to reduce black womanhood to, but that,
I grew up with some powerful black women. And
you didn't even have to tell them they was powerful, did you? They knew it.
Say a word. They knew it.
They knew it.
Powerful women.
That's why it kills me. I don't want to stray too far, but it kills me to hear we got to empower women. No, you don't. Man. A woman don't need to be empowered. You might have to empower a girl.
Let me tell you, I grew up with some very, you know what's funny? Each one of those women that I grew up with that were powerful all took care of home and took care of their husbands.
Man, you can't say stuff like that. That's misogynistic.
I'm just saying, they all.
Man, you old-fashioned, man.
You got to think about it. When I go home to my wife, that's the person who's making sure that I'm good after my long day and everything that I'm taking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's important for me to come home. So think about back in the days where men were really going out there farming, and a woman did have 8 kids in the house. She had to run a household.
Yeah.
She had to give them jobs. She had to give them chores. She had to make sure this was done, that was done, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these places were rural communities. So there wasn't a lot of schools around.
No.
So what was there?
No.
Sunday school, right?
Yeah.
The Bible. A lot of these women taught out of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
That was schooling for a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Right? We don't have none of that. So when it comes to a woman staying home, it's not like a woman is staying home laying on the couch doing nothing. Right? It's not like she's not playing her part. Right? It's not saying that you're degrading or taking something away from her because she's handling her business. She's making sure that the household, that's a hell of a job to take care of the household. But I don't think that I don't think it's cool when, I don't know, I can never be that dad. You got some dads that stay home and the wife go to work, stuff like that. I could never be that guy.
Yeah.
And that's just me.
That's me too.
I just, but I don't, and I'm not the guy that feels like my wife shouldn't go out there and work and go do her thing. Nah, absolutely not. But I don't think that she should forget about home. I don't think she should forget about our, you know what I mean?
Well, and that's the nature of this manifesto is to forget about home.
Yeah.
Why is a woman putting in a double shift for social justice? Where's the man at? Because when it came to protecting the home and protecting the community, that was historically a man's position. A woman should never have to do a double shift.
Yeah.
A woman should not be choosing between the family and then going out and protesting. I was about to ask, how did we get here? But I know how we got here, and we've been discussing how we got here. Black Lives Matter is just one more tentacle in the undermining of the black family. This is not new.
Yeah.
This is just the newest tentacle.
for me growing up, I'm not gonna say my last, but like when I think back to who were strong leaders in my community growing up, it was a lot of the Nation of Islam guys, right? And I'm not a Muslim, right? But at the same time, I respected the fact that these guys preached family.
Yes.
They preached being men, right? Just like you said, when the Nation of Islam guys stepped outside, there wasn't no women out there with them, it was men.
Yeah.
Standing arm by arm, all men. When they walked out in their communities, if something happened, it was men, right? And what did they do? They threw it on TV as bean pie slinging jokes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they had to diminish.
They had to diminish that. They had to make it
men.
look. It's like, man, that was like the last strong men to me in the black community that was still around trying to, and they're still there. But at that time, they were, you know, you don't even you think that's all a joke, man.